Hi folks, Seth Leipson here. Thanks for watching my monologue. In these uncertain times, you may be thinking about personal protection. If you are, I urge you to visit my friends at Guns Etc. They'll help you find the perfect protection for yourself and your family, and they can even teach you how to use it. They've been protecting Arizonans for over 33 years, and they stand for the great principles this country was founded upon. Or you can just click on gunsetcetera.com. And if you like my monologues, please subscribe to 960 The Patriots YouTube channel. Welcome back and happy November 4th, 2020. About last night, there are some institutions that have lost all my respect and frankly should lose others' respect too. I'll start with the pollsters. Blue wave. Big numbers for Joe Biden. If Trump wins, it would be against every statistic. Only the last one was true because their statistics were wrong. All very wrong. I don't know if it was deliberate, arrogance, wishful, but it wasn't science. Pollsters should be seen here on out as worse than the biased media. At least the media makes no effort to pretend to be fair. Which gets me to the media. They may think they are attempting fairness, but their view of fairness is to report only on one political party's view. They do not think Republicans are generally legitimate, so they don't care very much about attempting to cover news responsive to Republican voters or be accurate about Republican leaders or officials. I recall once Tim Russert spoke about being a little too rough, a little too unfair, quote unquote, on David Duke in an interview circa 1992. He then said, quote, "But if you're going to lose a little of your objectivity, doing it with a Nazi is probably forgivable," close quote. He's not wrong on that point. The problem is nearly all of Russert's profession now thinks we're all in that same category. Last night was not a repudiation of Donald Trump. It was predicted. It didn't happen. Last night was not the repudiation of the party all the never-Trumpers said would be the great cleansing. We did not pay a price for supporting Donald Trump. There was no great loss to make us reassess and regroup. The only Augean stables that were cleansed were the Lincoln Group type never-Trumpers. Quite the opposite of all they said, predicted, wished for, was true. We gained seats in the House of Representatives, and our Senate losses were, as of this writing, one seat. Perhaps the best news of last night is that Chuck Schumer will not be the majority leader of the Senate. This was not a repudiation of the party or the party of Trump. This election at the legislative level was a net gain. So let's get to the Super Bowl. We Republicans hadn't won Pennsylvania for over 20 years until Donald Trump. Today, with 80% of the vote in, he's up by 6 points. Until Donald Trump, we hadn't won Michigan in even longer. Today, with over 90% of the vote in, Donald Trump is within 1 point of Joe Biden in Michigan. We were told we may have to say goodbye to Texas. Everyone was wringing their hands over Texas. Absurd. People fell for it. The media fell for it. Democrats wasted travel time and money there. We kept it by at least 6 points. If we take Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia, and I assume we take Alaska, we are within 3 points from 270, the number of electoral votes for victory. Now add Arizona and Nevada, where we are within 1 point of winning. Repudiation of Trump? Even with major states not fully counted, Donald Trump has already won 4 million more votes than 4 years ago. Donald Trump the racist? He improved his support from African American voters by 50%. That likely will improve as other states come in. Donald Trump the racist. He improved his vote with Hispanic Americans by nearly 15%, and they will improve as other states come in. Donald Trump the anti-Semite? He improved his vote with Jewish voters by 30%. There were complaints about what Donald Trump said last night. Why? Joe Biden spoke first, and it wasn't to concede. That's usually why and when presidential candidates speak first. It was an encouragement to fight, and he announced a prospective victory. He said, quote, "Keep the faith, guys. We're going to win this," close quote. That's a strong statement. You combine that with what Nancy Pelosi has been saying and James Clyburn has been saying, namely that the only way Joe Biden loses is through fraud, and I have no tolerance or patience for critiques of what Donald Trump said last night. Nobody conceded. Fraud was planted in the air, and Joe Biden declared prospective victory. All before Donald Trump spoke. Aristotle put it that the character of the people can be shaped by the character of their leader. Now consider what happens when the media thinks they are our leaders. And they do. And arrogance, admixed with their arrested development, is beyond remarkable. Explaining, I think, much of what we see on our streets and in our social media, and most certainly in our high schools and colleges. Here's a tweet from a New York Times reporter last night before he deleted it. Quote, "The role of declaring the winner of a presidential election in the U.S. falls to the news media. The broadcast networks and cable news outlets have vowed to be prudent." Close quote. Maybe they need to check their civics curriculum and look up the definition of the word prudent while they're at it. As Professor Stephen Hayward reminds, needless to say, it's not up to the news media to declare the winner of a presidential election. Let's talk about the infantilism I mentioned. Kyle Smith was on the case. He writes, "We used to have Tim Russerts and other adults. Now we have children. I refer you to the news channel Kuma ongoing therapy session known as MSNBC. All night long, the hosts made smiley little jokes, teeth gritted and eyes wild about their need to self-medicate. After 1 a.m., Brian Williams introduced former Obama flack Robert Gibbs with the words, quote, wondering how much closer he is to his liquor cabinet. I half expected Brian to open up a six-pack of PBR on the air. Nicole Wallace and Joy Reid giggled and chatted about meditation apps while telling each other, you breathe in, you breathe out. Remember when folks like David Brinkley and Walter Cronkite were renowned for their ability to maintain their composure? The day President Kennedy was assassinated, all Cronkite did was take off his glasses and rub his eyes a little as he dryly recited the facts. Last night, MSNBC's hyperventilating hosts had former Bill Clinton Swami James Carville on for a chat and immediately asked him what kind of whiskey he intended to guzzle. Quote, put away the razor blades and put the Ambien back in the cabinet. We're going to be fine, Carville said, citing unnamed quants who told him Joe Biden would pull out the victory. Quants? Are those anything like pollsters? I.e., the people told us Joe Biden was going to cruise to victory with 350 or so electoral votes? Carville concluded his segment by holding up a gigantic bottle of champagne and promising us he was indeed going to drink it, but maybe not till the end of the week. As Jake Tapper memorably put it on CNN last night, you can't get high on your own supply. That supply was the media polling complex, an echo chamber in which professional Democrats and their friends who rule the culture kept singing chorus after chorus of "We Are the Champions" before the game even started. Pollsters who have to dial 4 or 5 or even 10 people just to get one person to answer their questions have to do a lot of guesswork when it comes to the matter of who is actually going to show up at the polling places, though they call their guesswork science. Nobody better ask these guys to fly a plane. With their record, a flight to London would have a 47% chance of winding up in Greenland. An hour or so after Wallace darkly warned viewers that Trump might bring in a shadowy cabal of co-conspirators known as lawyers to try to sort out the mess in Pennsylvania in his favor, everybody on MSNBC suddenly remembered that Democrats can also hire lawyers. This tends to undercut the usual argument that Trump has turned the U.S. into 1930s Germany. We got to support our lawyers out there. We got to get some fine attorneys, Carville vowed. You don't say. Still, Republican turncoat and MSNBC guest Michael Steele could scarcely believe members of his party might be unwilling to let the Democrats massage ballots to their liking. Quote, they've lined the lawyers to go up and attack the process, close quote, Steele said, using, quote, whatever tactics they can take, close quote. Sorry, Dems, but there are laws governing which ballots qualify and which don't. Count every vote? Nope. Count every lawful vote? Or is it yet another example of Trump's fascism that he plans to bring in lawyers to make sure the law is being followed? Those are your adults, and your prudent adults right now. So what do we expect from the non-professionals and non-experts, or college kids and 20 and 30-somethings on the streets or burning the streets? One other thought as we go forward. I've argued for about 8 months, or I should say answered for about 8 months the question, when will COVID be over? With the answer, November 4th, regardless of the winner of the election. I think I was right. You started to see this yesterday when the CDC put guidelines out that even if you have COVID, it's okay to go out and vote. Even if you have the virus that has changed the world and shuttered businesses, nonprofits, schools, disrupted families, AA meetings, prayer gatherings, even if you have that vicious disease, never mind worrying about spreading it, go out and vote. Okay, that was the predicate. Well, I apologize, no. The predicate was actually Donald Trump as president. The affirmation of the predicate was the virus didn't matter if protesting or rioting from the left were engaged in. And certainly no worries of spreading it if voting is in question. The virus knows how not to transmit in those cases. And I suspect, as I've said, it will wither away as a sorry, quiet peace now. The true withering away I'm worried about most today is that which Frederick Engels called the withering away of the state. The communist notion, as he put it, that, quote, the government of persons is replaced by the administration of things and the direction of the processes of production, close quote. Vladimir Lenin supplemented that notion by arguing that such can only come after a suppression of dissent of the bourgeoisie. Keep that in mind, suppression of dissent. For all our supposed authoritarianism, it is some kind of authoritarianism we project, isn't it? By fighting for the free speech rights of all. For all their supposed progressivism and enlightenment on the other side, it is some kind of progress and light our political opponents project by trying to suppress free speech, all the while calling us the worst names along the way, isn't it? Pull your socks up. Roll up your sleeves, stay positive, remain optimistic. I am. In the meantime, just remember how everyone said they'd prefer the Senate to the presidency for the last 2 months. Well, we got that. And I still think we get the presidency. Certainly the unpopularity of and massive objections to Donald Trump's and Republicans is nowhere. It's just not the case. I'm Seth. We'll be right back.